CIA agent confesses on the deathbed that we blew up World Trade Center 7 on 9/11. What's up, everybody? Truth Seeker here. Well, this is the third time now I hear someone actually speaking out about this. I mean, just a while ago, well, actually during, just a little bit after 9/11, it was already announced on PBS that they was told to pull the building.
I remember getting a call from the fire department commander telling me that they were not sure they were going to be able to contain the fire. And I said, we've had such terrible loss of life. Maybe the smartest thing to do is pull it. And they made that decision to pull, and then we watched the building collapse.
I don't know if you ever heard the terms before pull, but that's a demolition term. That's actually a term that's used for, pull. I mean, that means go ahead and blow up the building, pretty much. That's the word they use, is pull. So obviously this seems like this was something that was planned for a long time. This wasn't just something that randomly just occurred and a few office fires caught up on this. But just a little bit ago after that, though, John Kerry even actually talks about it.
I'd be happy to take a look at it.
Also, a question I have for you. World Trade Center 7 was brought down on September 11th at 5:20 in the evening. The leaseholder of the World Trade Center complex, Larry Silverstein, gave a public interview on PBS in 2002, and he said that they pulled that building, which is a demolition term for intentionally bringing down a building. This man made over $5 billion from those buildings' destruction, and I want to know if there was ever a formal investigation into Larry Silverstein, the leaseholder of the World Trade Center complex, and his ties to this entire event.
I don't believe there's been a formal investigation. I haven't heard that. I don't know that. I do know that that wall, I remember, was in danger, and I think that they made a decision based on the danger that it had of destroying other things, that they did it in a controlled fashion. They did it in a controlled fashion. They did it in a controlled fashion.
And then now all of a sudden we have a ex-CIA agent that's actually confessing on his deathbed that they did it. So this is now 3 points of targets right here, 3 points of evidence linking towards this being a controlled thing, even though it was so obvious. The whole thing was they didn't have no proof. I mean, this is already now 3 people that's saying the exact same thing. It says a 79-year-old retired CIA agent, Malcom Howard, has made a series of astonishing claims since being released from the hospital in New Jersey on Friday and told he was weeks to live. Mr. Howard claims he was involved in the controlled demolition of World Trade Center 7, the third building that was destroyed on 9/11. Mr. Howard, who worked for the CIA for 36 years as an operative, claims he was tapped by the senior CIA agents to work on the project due to his engineering background and early career in the demolition business. Trained as a civil engineer, Mr. Howard became an explosives expert after being headhunted by the CIA in early 1980s. Mr. Howard says he has extensive experience in planting explosives in items as small as cigarette lighters and as large as 80-floor buildings. The 79-year-old New Jersey native says he worked on the CIA operation they dubbed New Century between May 1997 and September 2001, during a time he says the CIA was still taking orders from the top. Mr. Howard says he was part of a cell of 4 operatives tasked with ensuring the demolition was successful. Mr. Howard says the World Trade Center 7 operation is unique among his demolitions, as it is only the demolition that we had to pretend wasn't a demolition job. He claims he had no problem going through with the deception at the time because when you are a patriot, you don't question the motivation of the CIA or the White House. You assume the bigger purpose is for a greater good. They pick good, loyal people like me, and it breaks my heart to hear the shit talk. But even he admits that now, looking back, something wasn't right. No good has come from this. This isn't the American we envisioned. And it's just crazy. It says, explaining how the building was brought down, Mr. Howard says, it was a classic controlled demolition with explosives. We used superfine military-grade nanothermite composite materials as explosives. The hard part was getting thousands of pounds of explosives, fuses, and ignition mechanisms into the building without causing too much concern. But almost every single office in Building 7 was rented by the CIA, the Secret Service, or the military, which made it easier. Mr. Howard explains that World Trade Center 7 was loaded with explosives in strategic places in the month leading up to the day that changed the course of American history. On September 11th, while the North and South Towers burned, fuses were ignited in World Trade Center 7, and nanothermite explosions hollowed out the building, destroying the steel structure, removing the reinforcements, and allowing the office fires to tear through the rest of the building, hollowing it out like a shell. World Trade Center 7 collapsed into its own footprint at 5:20 p.m., 7 hours after the destruction of World Trade Center 1 and 2. The building shocked witnesses by coming down at the speed of freefall, indicating that it encountered zero resistance on the way down. Mr. Howard and his colleagues had done their job. When the building came down, it was such a rush. Everything went exactly to plan. It was so smooth, everybody was evacuated. Nobody was hurt in World Trade Center 7. We were celebrating. We kept watching replays of the demolition. We had the whiskey and cigars out. And then all of a sudden, the strangest thing happened. We all started to worry that it looked a bit too smooth. We watched the tape again and again and again, and we started to get paranoid. It looked like a controlled demolition. No shit. That's what I thought too when I seen it. And that's also what I thought too when I seen World Trade Center 1 and 2 go down. It says, we thought, shit, people are going to question this. And then we heard that people from the street were reporting that they heard explosions during the afternoon.
What happened?
It was an explosion. We was in the lobby and then fucking the third explosion, the whole lobby collapsed on us.
What was it like? What was it like?
Horrible.
It's like hell. You don't want to know.
The whole building just collapsed on us inside the lobby.
Was that a secondary explosion?
Yes, it was.
That was the
Planet probably.
Yeah, definitely secondary explosion. Because we was inside waiting to go upstairs, and on the way upstairs, the whole fucking plane blew, and we just collapsed on everybody inside the lobby.
similar to the first tower coming down, secondary.
I don't know about the first one, but I know the second was terrible. Then there was a third one too after that one.
Third explosion after that.
That's right. Everybody was inside the building, waiting to go upstairs. And they just let loose. Everything just let loose inside the building.
So what you told me is that there was a plane or whatever hit the building, then a secondary explosion.
It was like 3 explosions after that. We came in after the fire. We came when the fire was going on already. We was in the staging area inside the building, waiting to go upstairs. Then they exploded. The whole lobby collapsed on the lobby inside.
But then there were other doors that were locked, so we were brought into another floor when there was another explosion, and they finally let us continue to go down.
What was happening around you? People screaming?
No, people were pretty calm. When we got down to 6th floor, there was like another shake or another explosion. Everyone started panicking, but...
Rick Sanchez has been there throughout this morning for us. Rick, tell us where you are and what the latest is.
I spoke with some police officials moments ago, Chris, and they told me that they have reason to believe that one of the explosions at the World Trade Center may have been caused by a van that was parked in the building that may have had some type of explosive device in it.
Joining me is Jack Kelly. Now, he is a foreign correspondent. He has some information about these attacks. Jack, what can you tell us happened first in New York?
Apparently what appears to happen was that at the same time 2 planes hit the building, that the FBI most likely thinks that there was a car or truck packed with explosives underneath the buildings, which also exploded at the same time and brought both of them down.
Now, that's the first time we're hearing that. So 2 planes and explosives that were in the building. Is that correct?
That is the working theory at this point. That is still unconfirmed, but that is what the FBI is going on at this point.
NBC's Pat Dawson is close to the scene of that attack. Pat?
Just moments ago, I spoke to the chief of safety for the New York City Fire Department. He received word of the possibility of a secondary device, that is another bomb going off. There was another explosion which took place. According to his theory, he thinks that there were actually devices that were planted in the building.
Yeah, here's one of the guys who can tell you I'm okay, all right? Here, hold on. You want to call your mother or something? gotta get back from here. You know that. You gotta get back.
All right. Don't worry about me. You need to make calls right now.
All right.
Bomb in the building, start clearing out. Sorry, you said there's a bomb? What'd you say? Bomb in the building, start clearing out. Got it.
It just went ba-boom. It was like a bomb went off. And it was like holy hell coming down them stairs. And then when we finally got to the bottom, they were coming out on the mezzanine level there. And another explosion came right from it because everything went flying.
Like, it sounded like gunfire. You know, bang, 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 bang. And then all of a sudden, 3 big explosions.
I was about 5 blocks away when I heard explosions, 3 thuds, and turned around to see the building we just got out of, antenna tip over and fall in on itself.
At 10:30, I tried to leave the building, but as soon as I got outside, I heard a second explosion and another rumble. And then a fire marshal came in and said we had to leave because if there was a third explosion, this building might not last.
We stuck on the stairs for a while. We finally got down to the lobby. Then we get to the lobby, it was this big explosion.
As we were getting our gear on and making our way to the stairway, there was a heavy-duty explosion.
Then somebody said that they saw an airliner go into one of those towers. Then, I don't know, an hour later than that, we had that big explosion from much, much lower. I don't know what on earth caused that.
We've heard reports of secondary explosions after the aircraft impacted, whether in fact there wasn't something else at the base of the towers that in fact were the coup de grace to bring them to the ground.
I did pass through a couple of parks and on some of the streets, and before, when I reported about an hour ago, there were people at their gas pumps who turned to look at the smoke that was coming from the city, folks stepping out of bodegas and stores to look. Now people are gathering in large groups. In fact, in one corner, I saw a group of people actually holding hands and praying. As I stand on the Manhattan Bridge, which is closed, it is open to pedestrian traffic. Some people are walking across, but there's just no way for them to, as I look out, something else that I can't
Okay, and so I want you guys to pay attention to this, because this is what they was hoping for a lot of people to not have any kind of knowledge on how buildings get demolition all the time. And if you didn't live in a giant city that had skyscrapers, that had old skyscrapers that had to be tore down or anything, I'm pretty sure you never really witnessed this unless you randomly Googled it on YouTube or something like that. But I want you to see what a normal building demolition looks like, and I want you to hear what it sounds like too. I want you to listen to the sounds, because the sound is the most important part I want you to pay attention to. And now I want you to listen to the sound that was recorded from the World Trade Center, and then I want you to also look at the building and tell me if you don't notice any similarities.
Okay, hold on. You want to call your mother or something? Or something? Or something? Or something? To be right.
I mean, there's just way too much obviousness here. I think it's just way too obvious. When we were told that the BBC botched the report and announced to the world that the building collapsed 20 minutes before it actually did, at that point, we really thought the gig was up. A few
yards away from where the World Trade Center towers were. And it seems that this was not a result of a new attack. It was because the building had been weakened during this morning's attacks. We'll probably find out more now about that from our correspondent, Jane Stanley. Jane, what more can you tell us about the Salomon Brothers building and its collapse?
Well, only really what you already know. Details are very, very sketchy. There's almost a sense downtown in New York behind me, down by the World Trade Centers, of just an area completely closed off as the rescue workers try to do their job. But this isn't the first building that has suffered as a result. We know that part of the Marriott Hotel next to the World Trade Center also collapsed as a result of this huge amount of falling debris from 110 floors of the two twin towers of the World Trade Center. As you can see behind me, the Trade Center appears to be still burning. We see these huge clouds of smoke and ash, and we know that behind that there's an empty piece of what was a very familiar New York skyline, a symbol of the financial prosperity of this city, but completely disappeared now, and New York is still unable to take on board what has happened to them today.
Presumably there were very few people in the Salomon building when it collapsed. I mean, there were, I suppose, fears of possible further collapses around the area.
That's what you would hope, because this whole downtown area behind me has been completely sealed off and evacuated, apart from the emergency workers. That was done by the mayor, Rudy Giuliani, much earlier today because of, course, the dreadful collapse of the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center. But New York, very much a city still in chaos. The phones are not working properly. The subway lines are not working properly. And we know that down there near the World Trade Center, there are 3 schools that are being turned into triage centers for emergency treatment. And I know that over in New York Harbor, where the famous Statue of Liberty is.
It says, according to the official 9/11 report issued by the government, World Trade Center 7 collapsed due to uncontrolled fires that were caused by debris that floated over from World Trade Center 1 and 2, which had been hit by passenger planes. If the official narrative was true, World Trade Center 7 would be the first tall building in the world to ever collapse due to uncontrolled fires, and the only steel skyscraper in the world to have collapsed onto itself due to the office fires. I mean, that's what I was saying. My argument was, if this is really how it collapsed, then why is it that when we do demolition buildings, we actually take the time to actually plant explosives in the right, correct places, make sure we get the master columns and everything? Why do we do all that if we could just light a couple of office fires and just watch it implode on itself, like the official report says? I mean, a lot of people are sitting there scratching their heads, sitting there going, there's no way this could have been just, done by a few office fires. And to me, that's point blank obvious. I think it's a duh. But it's just crazy how it all works. I mean, there's so much mystery to 9/11, and it's so obvious when you start seeing everything, you start connecting all the dots. It's 100% an inside job. It says right here, Mr. Howard and his colleagues feared the public would see through the official narratives and rise up against the government, demanding to be told the truth. There were so many loose ends, so much evidence left behind. We thought the public would be all over it. We thought there would be a public uprising that the media couldn't ignore. They'd be funding investigations and demanding to know why they were being lied to. We thought they'd find chemical composites in the area that would prove Building 7 was blown up. We thought there would be a revolution. It would go all the way to the top to President Bush. He'd be dragged out of the White House. But none of that happened. Almost nobody questioned anything. The media shot down anyone who dared question anything they were told. Obviously, it's followed the money. Mr. Howard claims he has no direct knowledge about the destruction of North and South Towers of the World Trade Center, explaining that CIA operations are very specific and that it is common to be working on a larger project while only understanding a small piece of the puzzle. It says Larry Silverstein designed New World Trade Center 7 1 year before the attacks even happened. Says, but he has advised investigators seeking to understand the entire puzzle and work out who was behind most devastating attacks on American soil in history. Follow the money. Again, it says when you want to find out who is behind something, just follow the money. Look at the trades made just before 9/11. These are the guys that knew what was coming. The sons of CIA agents, government officials, close relatives of the most powerful men in America, Cheney, Rumsfeld, they all got rich. It wasn't just the contracts awarded to the friends in the construction business and the wars and the kickbacks. It was insider trading. Many countries, including Britain, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, and Monaco, launched insider trading investigations into the wake of the 9/11 attacks, believing that if they could prove al-Qaeda operatives profited on the stock market, then they could prove that terror organization was behind the attacks. And all the evidence pointed to the heavy inside trading around 9/11. Italy's foreign minister, Antonio Martino, said, I think that there are terrorist states and organizations behind speculations onto international markets. German central bank president Ernst Wellstake said his researchers has found almost irrefutable proof of insider trading. Even CNN reported that regulators were seeing ever clearer signs that someone manipulated financial markets ahead of the terror attack in the hope of profiting from it. Mr. Howard says that a serious study of who profited on the stock market from 9/11 would tear the heart out of the oligarchy in America. There is only one organization that spans the entire world, and let me tell you now, it isn't, and it never was, Al-Qaeda. It's the CIA. There could never be a real investigation. The entire shadow government, as you call them now, are implicated. The 79-year-old, spending his final weeks at home, said he doesn't expect to be taken into custody following his confession because then they'd have to go after everyone else. They will just use the media to attack me. They are all on the payroll to suppress everything around 9/11. And we all know how that goes already. We already know that CNN lies about everything. We know a lot of the mainstream media will sit there and actually protect the shadow government more than actually tell us the truth, and that's why we have to rely on alternative medias to actually tell us what's really going on. We make sure that we get you the actual real news and data out there. I mean, it's almost just like the movie Good Morning Vietnam, except this is how we got it now. We're on YouTube, and they can't stop us. There's no more FCC. There's no more people regulating what we could actually tell the world, and we could actually show you the documents. We could show you the WikiLeaks. We could actually expose every single thing about this. But this is right here is the third point now on someone else saying that this was controlled demolition. And now this guy actually even explains it and brings it out to a more detail. So now I think there's actual further stuff that should be investigated by this. This is a confession of someone that actually worked for the agents at the time and actually can probably show proof that he was in these buildings at these times. So, I mean, they need to actually link this together and they need to further investigate this. So this is another thing Trump should actually bring up. As long as Trump ain't behind this, and I sure to God hope he isn't behind any of this. I mean, I don't really see a connection or tie or anything, but you would think if he wasn't behind this, he would actually show us what's really going on. So I hope he does have a crack team investigation going about this stuff, because stuff like this deserves answers. There's a lot of people missing. There's a lot of people that did die. There's a lot of innocent bystanders that got cancer from this dust and stuff that was in the air. There's a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense about any of the reports, and I think people deserve to know the truth. So every single time that I'm going to get a new piece of update about something that happened on 9/11, I'm going to tell you guys, and I hope everybody else is actually still interested. I hope no one gave up. I hope no one lost hope in actually figuring out the truth of 9/11. Please don't, because we will figure it all out. It's all coming together now. Definitely pass this around. Share this around to everybody. Leave your comments below on what you think about this, and thanks for watching, everybody.
I remember getting a call from the fire department commander telling me that they were not sure they were going to be able to contain the fire. And I said, you know, we've had such terrible loss of life. Maybe the smartest thing to do is pull it. And I said, you know, we've had such terrible loss of life. Maybe the smartest thing to do is pull it, is pull it, is pull it. And they made that decision to pull, and then we watched the building collapse.
Take a look at it. I'd be happy to take a look at it.
Also, a question I have for you. World Trade Center 7 was brought down on September 11th at 5:20 in the evening. The leaseholder of the World Trade Center complex, Larry Silverstein, gave a public interview on PBS in 2002, and he said that they pulled that building, which is a demolition term for intentionally bringing down a building. This man made over $5 billion from those buildings' destruction, and I want to know if there was ever a formal investigation into Larry Silverstein, the leaseholder of the World Trade Center complex, and his ties to this entire event.
I don't believe there's been a formal investigation. I haven't heard that. I don't know that. I do know that that wall, I remember, was in danger, and I think that they made a decision based on the danger that it had of destroying other things, that they did it in a controlled fashion. They did it in a controlled fashion. They did it in a controlled fashion.
What's the point of your hosting company offering tons of features if your site goes intermittently offline and you are left with no support? With Joshua Hosting, you have a hosting platform that is built on security, speed, uptime, and scalability for optimal site availability. For complete security, our cutting-edge ZFS file system offers protection against data corruption, which no ordinary web servers are immune to. Also, anti-hack protection effectively prevents most types of URL forgery or brute force attacks targeted at your sites. Non-stop antivirus protection, further boosted by our admins, provide an ironclad security for your sites and emails against any malicious bugs. For blazing fast sites, you will be provided with a custom hosting platform where the workload is distributed across a number of machines, not just one, increasing site performance and provided with faster mail delivery. Our solid-state drives bring down the latency and data reading compared to regular hard drives, and thanks to having servers using ZFS compression site, content sizes lowered significantly, making data read even faster. Through the data caching, we store frequently used content in the server's RAM, so your most visited pages can be quickly accessed. To guarantee maximum uptime for your top-quality server hardware, very low mobilization levels, failure rates is implemented. Another safeguard we have is our redundant power system units in place to quickly recover the network during any power failures. So your site's growing fast, no problem. Thanks to the scalability of our platform, you can upgrade to a more powerful system anytime with the click of a mouse. To manage resource-hungry sites, semi-dedicated servers are available, offering you an increased CPU and database queries. Do your projects need some extra expansion space? If so, check out our dedicated servers with top-class hardware set up, full root access. The user-friendly multi-language control panel allows you to create your own websites and manage projects' emails in no time. It features browsable daily backups and comprehensive web stats to help you take full control of your sites. So sign up to Joshua Hosting today and we'll transfer your site for free. It's simple. Choose your hosting plan, site name, location, and leave the rest with us. With 24/7 customer support system, we're always here to help. Please subscribe to our channel, like our video, and comment below, and we'll see you on the flip side. Peace! And don't forget to click the notification bell.